in the heart of the luminary dominion, where towers of living crystal rose into skies painted with twin moons, Princess Lyra stood alone before the obsidian mirror of truth. The mirror was not glass but a slab of ancient stone pulled from the core of a dead star. It showed not faces but desires, and right now it showed a human. Lyra's silver hair shimmered like starlight caught in spider silk. Her eyes, deep violet and rimmed with faint gold, stayed locked on the image flickering in the stone. A man in a torn flight suit, blood on his temple, one hand gripping a broken rifle, the other reaching toward a fallen comrade. His name was Kyle Brandt. He was not noble, not powerful, not even alive in this memory, but he had done something no luminary had dared in centuries. He had chosen to stay behind so others could live. Outside the chamber, the city of Eldros hummed with quiet perfection. Gardens bloomed in perfect spirals. Drones glided soundlessly, tending to every need. The luminary had mastered peace, order, and control. They had forgotten chaos. They had forgotten sacrifice, and that, Lyra thought, was their greatest weakness. She had watched the battle of veiled passage from a hidden feed, against her mother's orders. The human fleet, patchwork ships held together by hope and welding torches, had faced a Dominion dreadnought 10 times their size. Most had been vaporized in the first strike, but Kyle Brandt, piloting a damaged interceptor no larger than a shuttle, had flown straight into the dreadnought's primary reactor conduit. Not to destroy it, he knew he couldn't, but to jam its targeting array long enough for 3 human transports to escape with civilians. He should have died instantly, yet he survived, drifting in vacuum for 17 hours before rescue. When asked why he did it, he simply said, "Someone had to." Those words had echoed in Lyra's mind ever since. They were simple, raw, illogical, and utterly beautiful. A soft chime sounded behind her. She did not turn. She knew the scent of ozone and jasmine that always followed her mother. "You return to this mirror too often, daughter," Queen Selene said, her voice smooth as polished ice. She stood tall, draped in robes woven from captured nebulae. Her face was ageless, flawless, and unreadable. "It shows you shadows, not truth." "Shadows can teach," Lyra replied, finally turning. "Humans are not what we believed." Queen Selene's gaze flicked to the mirror. The image of Kyle faded, replaced by swirling mist. "They are chaotic, violent. They burn through stars like kindling. They do not plan. They do not preserve. They consume. They also create," Lyra said softly. "They write songs about loss. They build hospitals in war zones. They name their children after hope. Sentiment is a flaw," the Queen said. "It clouds judgment. We rose above it. That is why we rule." "And do we?" Lyra asked. "Or do we simply sit in silence while the universe changes around us?" The Queen's eyes narrowed just slightly. That was as close to anger as she ever showed. "The High Council meets tonight. They will vote on the human question. I suggest you attend. And remember your place." Lyra bowed her head. "I will, Mother." But as her mother glided away, robes trailing like comet tails, Lyra's fingers curled into fists. She had read every report, every intercepted transmission, every scrap of human media smuggled past Dominion filters. She had seen children drawing pictures of spaceships with crayons. She had heard lullabies sung over static-filled comms. She had watched a human medic give her last oxygen tank to a wounded enemy soldier. And then there was Kyle Brandt. That night, the grand chamber of the High Council glowed with cold blue light. 12 luminary elders sat in floating thrones, their faces serene, their minds linked through the weave, a shared consciousness that allowed them to think as one. Queen Selene presided from the apex, her expression unreadable. Lyra stood at the edge of the chamber, not as a ruler but as an observer. Protocol demanded it. She was heir but not yet voice. The topic was clear: the human expansion near the neutral rim. Once confined to a single spiral arm, humans had spread like wildfire, not through conquest but through sheer stubbornness. They terraformed dead worlds with algae and prayer. They turned asteroids into homes. And their ships, though crude, now carried weapons that bent reality in ways even luminary science couldn't explain. Elder Voss spoke first. "They grow too bold. Their last skirmish damaged 3 of our outposts. They must be contained." "Contained is not enough," Elder Morel countered. "They are a disease. Unpredictable, emotional. They will infect the balance we have maintained for 10,000 cycles." "They are not animals," Lyra said suddenly, stepping forward, All eyes turned to her. Silence thickened like frozen air. Queen Celine's voice was calm. "You are not called to speak, Lyra." "I speak as heir," she said, chin high, "and as one who has studied them. Humans are not a disease. They are a storm, and storms bring rain. Without rain, even crystal gardens die." Elder Voss scoffed. "Poetry will not stop their warships." "But understanding might," Lyra insisted. "They do not seek to destroy us. They seek to survive, and in surviving they create. Their art, their science, their courage, it is not chaos, it is life. Raw, messy, and real." Queen Celine watched her daughter, unreadable as ever. Then she turned to the council. "The vote is clear. The humans are a threat. We will deploy the Silence Fleet. All human vessels within Dominion space will be erased. No survivors." Lyra's breath caught. The Silence Fleet was not a military force, it was a weapon of absolute deletion. It didn't kill, it unmade. Memory, matter, even light. Nothing remained. "Mother," she said, voice breaking, "please, there is another way." "There is no other way," the Queen replied. "Order must be preserved." Lyra looked around the chamber. No one met her eyes. They had already decided. They saw humans as insects, and insects were crushed. But she saw something else. She saw Kyle Brandt reaching into the void for someone who couldn't save himself. She saw mothers singing to children in bunkers. She saw farmers planting seeds on ash-covered soil. And in that moment, she knew what she had to do. She stepped forward again, past protocol, past fear. "Mother," she said loud enough for all to hear, "I desire this human." The words hung in the air like a shattered bell. Queen Celine went very still. The elders froze. Even the weave seemed to stutter. "What did you say?" the Queen asked, voice dangerously soft. Lyra met her mother's gaze without flinching. "Kyle Brandt, the human from Veiled Passage. I desire him, not as a prisoner, not as a specimen, but as one worthy of study, of understanding. If we are to judge an entire species, let us begin with its best," the council murmured, not in outrage but in calculation. The Luminari did not act on emotion, but they respected strategy. If the heir wished to study a human, perhaps there was value in it. Perhaps it was a test. Queen Celine studied her daughter for a long time. Then she spoke. "Very well. You may have him. But you will retrieve him yourself, alive, and bring him to Eldros. If you fail, you will be stripped of your title and exiled to the Void Rim. Do you accept?" Lyra's heart pounded. Exile meant never seeing home again. Never flying with Zara through the Aurora Canyons. Never walking the Crystal Gardens at dawn. But if it meant saving even one human life and maybe opening her people's eyes, she would pay that price. "I accept," she said. Queen Celine nodded once. "Then prepare. The Silence Fleet launches in 3 cycles. You have until then." As Lyra turned to leave, her mind raced. She would need a ship, supplies, and Zira. Always Zyra. Zira was not a pet. Not really. She was a dragon of the old blood. Small as a wolf, but ancient as the first stars. Her scales shifted from silver to deep blue depending on her mood. She could not speak in words, but her thoughts flowed into Lyra's mind like music. They had been bonded since Lyra was a child, when Zyra chose her from among 100 royal heirs. Now Zyra waited in the moon garden, curled around a fountain of liquid light. When Lyra approached, the dragon lifted her head, eyes glowing like twin embers. "You are afraid?" Zyra sent, not in sound but in feeling. "Yes," Lyra admitted, kneeling beside her. "But more than that, I am hopeful. For the human?" "For all of us," Lyra said. "They remind us what it means to feel. To risk, to love." Zira nuzzled her hand. "Then we go." "We go," Lyra agreed. Back in her chambers, she gathered what she needed. A cloaked skiff hidden in the lower docks, coded with her private key. Rations that would last a week. A neural dampener to hide their biosigns. And one last thing. A data crystal containing every human song, poem, and message she had collected. As she packed, she looked out at the city. Eldros was perfect, clean, eternal. But it was also empty. No laughter rang through its halls. No tears fell on its floors. It was a museum of what once was, not a home for what could be. Kyle Brandt, with his bloodied face and stubborn heart, represented something the Luminary had lost. Maybe, just maybe, he could help them find it again. And if not, Lyra would stand with him in the ashes. The Silence Fleet would launch soon, but before it did, she would fly into the storm. Not as a princess, not as a weapon. but as someone who finally understood that the most dangerous thing in the universe was not war, but hope. And she carried it with her, burning bright in her chest as she and Zyra slipped away from Eldros under cover of twin moonset, heading toward the edge of known space where humans still dared to dream among the stars. The ancient forest groves stretched endlessly tall silver trees reaching toward three pale moons. Their trunks glowed with internal light, illuminating a path few elves ever walked. This sacred place had stood untouched for millennia, protected by old magic and older traditions. Even Empress Celestia rarely ventured here, making it the perfect hiding place. Lyra guided Kate through the luminescent woods, Azura flying overhead keeping watch. The human stumbled occasionally, unused to the strange gravity and air composition of the elven homeworld, yet she kept pace, her eyes wide with wonder at the alien beauty surrounding them. "This place is incredible," Kate whispered. "Where are we?" "The Grove of Ancestors," Lyra replied. "No one will find you here. The trees mask life signatures and disrupt tracking spells. My mother believes these groves are haunted by our forebears. Most elves avoid them out of superstition." Kate touched one glowing trunk. The tree pulsed brighter in response. "That's not superstition. The trees are reacting to touch, they seem almost sentient." Lyra watched with surprise. The trees had never responded to elven touch this way. Another strange puzzle about the human. "This place will be your sanctuary until I can understand why my people hate yours so deeply." They reached a small clearing where crystal formations created natural chambers. Azura landed beside them, the dragon's massive form dwarfing both elf and human. The creature sniffed at Kate, her scales rippling with suspicion. Still does not trust me," Kate observed. Looking at the dragon, "Azura has been my companion since she hatched," Lyra explained. "She is protective." For a dragon companion to accept anyone other than their bonded elf is unprecedented. Yet as days passed in their forest sanctuary, something unexpected happened. Kate showed no fear of Azura approaching the dragon with respect, but not the terror most species felt in the presence of the Empire's most deadly weapons. Gradually, Azura's hostility diminished, replaced by cautious curiosity. During this time, Lyra learned the humans were not the mindless barbarians. Elven propaganda claimed. Kate explained how humanity had fled their home galaxy after mysterious entities she called Void Walkers consumed their worlds. One by one, they absorb all matter, all energy. Kate explained, her voice hollow with remembered loss. "Planets, stars, even light itself. Nothing stops them. We tried everything. Weapons beyond your imagination. Alliances with species you have never encountered. Nothing worked. We ran. That is why we pushed into Andromeda. Not as conquerors, but as refugees." Lyra struggled to believe such creatures could exist. The Elven Empire had catalogued all known cosmic threats. The Imperial archives contained no mention of these Void Walkers. Yet Kate spoke with such conviction, such raw pain, that falsehood seemed impossible. One evening, as moonlight filtered through the crystal ceiling of their hiding place, Azura suddenly stiffened. Her scales shifted from deep blue to violent red, a sign of distress. Lyra reached for the dragon's mind, finding it filled with chaotic images. Memories not Azura's own, but genetic memories encoded in dragon DNA passed down through countless generations. Lyra had glimpsed these ancestral memories before, but never with such clarity. Now she saw ancient elves fighting alongside strange creatures against a darkness that devoured stars. "Kate, these Void Walkers you described, what do they look like?" Kate took a stick drawing in the soft earth. A shape like a shadow, but deeper than any natural darkness, moving like liquid but vast as nebulae. And at their center, something like an eye, but not for seeing. For consuming. Azura growled, the sound reverberating through the grove. The drawing matched the enemy and her genetic memories perfectly. "This is impossible," Lyra whispered. "The memories in Azura's blood. They show our ancestors fighting these same creatures and not alone. Other species fought with us, including beings that look remarkably like humans." Kate stared at her. "But your people claim never to have encountered humans before our arrival in Andromeda." Someone is lying, Lyra said, her voice hardening. And I suspect it is my mother. The next day, Lyra returned to the Imperial Palace, leaving Kate under Azura's protection. The dragon had formed an unexpected bond with the human. Their mutual distrust transformed into cautious alliance. Lyra found her mother in the war chamber. Holographic displays showed elven warships. Decimating human colonies. Empress Celestia watched without emotion as reports of victories streamed in. Mother Lyra began carefully. I have been researching these humans in our ancient texts. I found something strange. References to creatures that match the description of the Voidwalkers, beings that consume stars, and hints that elves once fought alongside other species against them, including what might have been humans. The Empress froze, her perfect features hardening. Where did you find such texts? In the ancestral archives, Lyra lied, knowing better than to reveal her true source. Those records are incomplete propaganda from our primitive past. Celestia dismissed, her voice too sharp, too quick. Humans are nothing but vermin spreading across the stars. They must be eliminated before they bring destruction to our perfect society. But Mother, what if they flee something real? Something that threatens us all? Celestia slammed her fist on the crystalline table, cracking its surface. Such questions are beneath your station, daughter. I forbid further investigation into these fairy tales. The humans will be destroyed. That is final. That night, Imperial guards removed several royal archivists from their posts. Ancient texts disappeared from the public archives. Sections of elven history suddenly became restricted, accessible only to the Empress herself. The reaction was so extreme it confirmed Lyra's suspicions. Something about human history threatened the very foundations of elven society. Under cover of darkness, Lyra returned to Kate in the sacred grove. Together with Azura, they devised a plan to access the forbidden archives beneath the capital city, knowledge that could redefine everything Lyra believed about her civilization. The underground journey was perilous. Ancient defenses designed to keep secrets buried activated at their presence. Lyra disabled most with royal override codes, but others required Kate's unexpected immunity to certain elven magic to bypass. Finally, they reached the deepest chamber, a room untouched for millennia. Crystal memory stones lined the walls, each containing thousands of years of true history, not the sanitized version taught to elven children. Lyra activated the central stone. The chamber, filled with holographic images of the past elves and humans fighting side by side. Dragons not as weapons, but as equal allies, all united against the encroaching darkness of the Void Walkers. The ancient alliance had successfully driven the creatures, backsealing dimensional rifts that allowed their entry. But then came betrayal. The memory stone showed elven leadership meeting in secret, fearing the growing power of humanity, their rapid advancement. The first Empress, Lyra's ancestor, making a terrible bargain with emissaries of the Voidwalkers. The terms were clear. The Voidwalkers would consume human worlds but leave elven territories untouched. Humans would be directed away from elven space. Unaware they were being herded toward destruction, tears streamed down Lyra's face as centuries of deception unfolded before her. The perfect elven society built on the sacrifice of countless species. The empire she had served loyally for 600 years, founded on the most profound betrayal. Kate watched, in stunned silence beside her. When the memories faded, she spoke, her voice trembling with rage. You knew. Your people knew what was hunting us, and you led them to us deliberately. I did not know, Lyra whispered. But my ancestors did. They sacrificed Earth to save themselves. Kate turned away, her body rigid with anger. Why show me this? Why not maintain the lie? Because Lyra said some things matter more than empire, more than tradition, more than perfect order. Truth matters. Kate. Justice matters. Her voice strengthened. I cannot undo 10,000 years of betrayal, but I can try to make it right. Azura growled in agreement. Her scales shifted to deep purple, a color Lyra had never seen before. The dragon projected images into both their minds. Ancient, dragons and humans sharing knowledge, building something together. Weapons, perhaps, or shields against the darkness. What is she showing us? Kate asked. I believe Lyra said, it is the key to defeating the Voidwalkers. something our ancestors discovered, together, something my people buried out of fear and pride. As they prepared to leave the forbidden archives, alarms blared throughout the palace. Imperial forces had discovered Lyra's treason. The ancient prophecy echoed once more in the princess' mind. When the heir desires the enemy, worlds will fall. She had always been taught this meant destruction. Now she wondered if it meant something else entirely. Perhaps the worlds meant to fall were not physical planets, but worlds of deception. The foundations of a society built on lies. Lyra looked at Kate, then at Azura. Their unlikely alliance represented hope against overwhelming darkness. But first, they would need to escape the Imperial Guard, now surrounding the archive chamber, and somehow reach the human fleet before the Empress could complete her extermination campaign. The secret history had been revealed. Now came the hard part: surviving long enough to use it. Imperial alarms echoed through the ancient archive chamber. Guards would arrive within minutes. Lyra, Kate, and Azura needed to escape, but every exit would be watched. "There is a way out," Kate said, pointing to ventilation shafts high in the ceiling. "Too small for guards in armor, but we could fit." Azura growled, her thoughts clear in Lyra's mind. She would create a diversion, drawing the guards away while the princess and human escaped. The dragon did not wait for approval. Bursting through the main doors, she unleashed a torrent of energy from her scales, blinding the approaching guards. "Go now," Azura commanded telepathically. "I will find you at the forest sanctuary." Lyra hesitated, torn between duty to her companion and the larger mission. Kate grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the ventilation shaft. Moments later, they crawled through ancient tunnels designed to regulate airflow to the subterranean archives. "We need a ship," Kate whispered as they emerged in a maintenance area far from the palace center. "Something fast and unregistered." "Impossible," Lyra replied. "All vessels are registered with Imperial control. Tracking spells activate automatically." Kate smiled grimly. "Not the ship I arrived in. My scout vessel was classified as destroyed, but I disabled the tracking systems before capture. It should still be in the impound zone." The impound zone lay at the edge of the capital, heavily guarded, but less so than the main spaceport. Moving under cover of night, Lyra used her royal access codes one last time. They would be deactivated as soon as her treason was confirmed. The small human vessel looked insignificant among captured ships from across the galaxy. Kate ran her hands over the hull, checking for tampering. Finding none, she activated the entry sequence. The door slid open, revealing a cramped interior designed for utility. "Not comfort. Can Azura fit in here?" Kate asked, examining the cargo hold. "She will have to," Lyra replied, already feeling her dragons approach through there. Mental bond. Minutes later, Azura arrived, her massive form barely squeezing through the impound yard gates. Guards followed close behind. Lyra raised her hands, channeling ancient magic. A blinding flash erupted, giving Azura time to board the ship. Though painfully cramped, the dragon managed to curl into the cargo hold. Kate took the pilot's seat, hands flying over controls. The engines hummed to life. Imperial defense systems immediately locked onto the unauthorized launch. Kate responded with impressive skill. The small vessel ducked and weaved through automated defenses and pursuing ships. "We need to contact the human fleet," Lyra said. "Where are they hiding?" Kate hesitated, clearly still struggling with trust. "I need guarantees, Princess." "What stops you from leading us into a trap?" The question stung, but Lyra understood. After centuries of elven betrayal, humans had every reason for suspicion. "I swear on my royal blood, on my bond with Azura, I seek only to end this conflict. The Void Walkers are the true enemy. My mother knows this, yet continues her genocidal campaign. I cannot allow it." Before Kate could respond, proximity alarms blared. A squadron of elven fighters had locked onto their position. Imperial weapons charged, preparing to destroy the stolen vessel. Suddenly, Azura roared from the cargo hold, her mind connected with Lyra's. The dragon channeled energy through their bond. Lyra extended her hands toward the approaching fighters. Golden light erupted from her fingertips, not attacking the elven ships, but creating a distortion field. Their targeting systems failed, unable to lock onto the small scout ship. Kate stared in amazement, then seized the opportunity, pushing the engines beyond safety limits. The ship shot forward, braking, through the planetary defense grid. Within moments, they entered hyperspace, safe for now. That was incredible, Kate said, turning to Lyra. What did you do? It wasn't me alone. Lyra explained. Azura channeled her energy through our bond. I merely directed. It's something we have never attempted before. The result surprised even me. Impossible according to Elven military doctrine. Dragons could only project destructive energy. Yet Azura had created a defensive shield. This discovery hinted at greater potential in the Dragon-Elven bond than centuries of Imperial research had revealed, as the ship traveled through hyperspace toward coordinates. Only Kate knew Lyra shared everything she had learned from the Forbidden Archives, the ancient alliance between species, the betrayal by Elven leadership, the bargain with the Void. Walkers. Our people were allies. Kate said once humanity and elves worked together. That changes everything. Not everything. Lyra replied sadly. 10,000 years of hatred will not disappear with one revelation. My people have evolved to see humans as inferior. Convincing them otherwise will be difficult. Kate navigated through asteroid fields and gas clouds using routes unknown to Imperial charts. Her skills impressed Lyra. Who would have thought a supposedly primitive species could pilot with such precision? Do you trust your admiral? Kate asked abruptly. Will she listen before shooting? Sharon Carter is tough but fair. Kate replied. She survived 3 encounters with Void Walkers. She values information that could give us an advantage. But I can't promise your safety, Princess. Many humans have died at Elven hands. I expect no promises, Lyra said. Only a chance to help stop the true enemy. Days into their journey, alarms blared again. This time the threat came not from pursuing Elven vessels but from something else entirely. Kate stared at the scanner, her face paling. They found us. 3 shadow vessels appeared at the edge of sensor range, moving in ways that defied physics. Their shape seemed to absorb surrounding starlight, creating unnatural darkness. Void Walkers, Lyra whispered, seeing the creatures from Azura's genetic memories made real. They shouldn't be here. Kate said, frantically adjusting controls. Your mother said they would avoid Elven space. That was the bargain. The bargain's broken. Lyra realized the Void Walkers no longer honor the ancient agreement. The shadow vessels accelerated impossibly fast, surrounding the small scout ship. Kate tried evasive maneuvers, but the creatures anticipated every move. The ship's shields weakened as the shadows began to drain their energy, were losing power. Kate shouted, engines failing, life support at 60% and dropping. In the cargo hold, Azura roared her, scales shifting through colors Lyra had never seen. The dragon projected desperate images into both their minds, an ancient ritual. Dragons channeling energy through Elven mages, creating rifts in void. Walker defenses. It might work, Lyra said, grabbing Kate's hand. We need to try. Azura has a plan. The princess closed her eyes, connecting deeply with her dragon companion. Kate watched, uncertain but with no alternatives, offered no resistance. Lyra placed one hand on Kate's forehead, the other reaching toward Azura. In the cargo hold, a triangle of energy formed between them. Human, elf, and dragon connected by glowing threads of power. Lyra channeled the combined energy outward, focusing on the nearest shadow vessel. The result shocked them all, where the energy beam struck the Void Walker. A small rift appeared in its seemingly impenetrable darkness. Light shone through the tear, causing the creature to recoil in apparent pain. It worked, Kate gasped. They can be hurt, not destroyed, Lyra cautioned, but wounded enough to retreat. Kate adjusted course, aiming for a nearby nebula, using the temporary advantage. They managed to reach its concealing clouds before the Void Walkers recovered. The shadow vessels circled, searching, but eventually moved, unable to detect the small ship among the stellar gases. That combination, Lyra said, her voice filled with wonder. Human, elven, and dragon energy created something new. Something the Void Walkers fear. It's the first real advantage we've had in centuries of running. Kate replied, her eyes bright with hope. This could change everything. A day later, they approached the hidden human fleet headquarters, an uncharted moon orbiting a gas giant deep in unclaimed territory. Kate transmitted recognition codes, but received tense instructions in return. The small scout ship was permitted to land, but under heavy guard as they exited the vessel. Dozens of human soldiers surrounded them. Weapons aimed at Lyra. Admiral Sharon Carter stepped forward. Her gray, hair cut short, her uniform bearing marks of many battles. Her eyes narrowed at the sight of an elven princess. Kate Miller, explain yourself, the Admiral demanded. What madness made you bring an elf to our sanctuary? And is that a dragon? Kate stood at attention. Yes, Admiral. It is. The princess has vital information about our enemy. The real enemy. Not the elves. Carter snorted. Elves have hunted us across the stars for generations. They are our enemy. Not the original one. Lyra interjected, stepping forward. Despite the weapons trained on her, I've discovered the truth, Admiral Carter. My ancestors made a terrible bargain with the Void Walkers, sacrificing humanity to save themselves. The mention of Void Walkers caused murmurs among the soldiers. Many had lost homes and loved ones to the shadow creatures. Carter raised her hand, silencing them. She studied Lyra with cold calculation. Give me one reason I shouldn't execute you now. Princess. In response, Azura emerged from the ship, her massive form causing soldiers to back away in terror. The dragon made no aggressive moves, instead, projecting calm reassurance. Lyra felt her companion attempting something unprecedented, trying to communicate with humans other than Kate. Because together we can hurt them, Lyra said. We proved it. When human, elven, and dragon energies combine, the Void Walkers become vulnerable. Their darkness can be pierced. Carter considered this, her tactical mind clearly weighing the strategic value against security risks. Finally, she nodded. Guards secure the dragon and princess quarters, not cells. For now, they are guests under surveillances. Lyra was escorted away. She caught Kate's eye. The human gave a small, encouraging smile. Despite 3 days passed in the human base beneath the uncharted moon surface. Lyra remained under constant surveillance, allowed limited movement within designated areas. Azura was kept in a reinforced hangar, designed for larger vessels, the dragon tolerating the confinement with surprising patience. Kate visited daily, bringing news and rations. She explained that Admiral Carter was reviewing the information, consulting with military leadership. Some believed Lyra, others called for her immediate execution. The fate of the elven princess remained undecided. On the 4th morning, Kate arrived earlier than usual, her expression urgent. The Admiral wants to see you. Now guards escorted them through winding corridors deeper into the base than Lyra had been permitted before. They entered a circular chamber where Admiral Carter waited, surrounded by senior officers and scientists. Holographic displays showed images of Void Walker encounters. We've been analyzing your story. Princess. Carter began, her voice neutral. Against my better judgment, I sent scouts to verify your claims about the Void Walkers breaking your mother's bargain. The Admiral gestured and new images appeared. Shadow vessels moving through previously safe elven territories, attacking Imperial outposts. The evidence was unmistakable. Your information appears accurate, Carter continued. But trust is earned, not given. I need proof that this combination of energies you described can actually harm the Void Walkers. Lyra nodded. I understand. Admiral, may I suggest a demonstration? The request led to careful preparations. Azura was brought to a secure testing facility. Sensors placed throughout the chamber would measure energy outputs. The dragon's scales rippled with anticipation as Lyra explained what they needed to prove. Kate positioned herself between them, forming the triangle connection they had discovered during their escape. Lyra began channeling energy through their bond. As before, golden light emerged, but under controlled conditions. The scientists could analyze its properties. What they recorded astonished everyone. The energy signature matched nothing in human or captured elven databases. Its structure seemed to create microscopic tears in spacetime, similar to the effect observed when Void Walkers transitioned between dimensions. This could be weaponized, one scientist said excitedly. Not exactly weaponized. Lyra corrected. This energy doesn't destroy Void Walkers. It disrupts their connection to our dimension, pushes them back temporarily. How temporary? Carter demanded. Hours at most, Lyra admitted. But if we understand why this combination works, we might develop something more permanent. Carter studied the data, then made her decision. Give the princess access to our historical archives. Let her see if human records contain information Elven leaders might have erased. The human archives differed greatly from Elven repositories. No crystal memory stones or telepathic interfaces. Instead, physical books, digital, records and oral histories preserved by survivors of destroyed worlds. Kate guided Lyra through the unfamiliar systems. For days they searched, finding fragmentary references to the ancient alliance humans had preserved, legends of tall, luminous beings who fought alongside them against the darkness. Many dismissed these as creation myths, but Lyra recognized descriptions of her ancestors before imperial revisionism sanitized their history. Then they found something extraordinary. An ancient text, preserved from Earth before its destruction, written in a language long forgotten but translated by dedicated human scholars. It spoke of the convergence, a cosmic alignment occurring once every 12,000 years. During convergence, the text explained, barriers between dimensions thinned. The Void Walkers weren't merely seeking territory. They were preparing for the next alignment to bring their full forces through. The last convergence was narrowly stopped by the unified alliance elves-dragons. Humans and other species now extinct had combined their unique energies to seal dimensional breaches. According to the text, the victory came at great cost. The ritual required perfect harmony between species, something difficult to maintain. The first, Empress, fearing loss of elven dominance in a unified galaxy, ordered all memory of this cooperation erased. She established the bargain with the Void Walkers, believing elves could survive alone. When the next convergence arrived, Kate stared at the translated text. When is the next convergence due? Lyra performed calculations based on elven astronomical records and human historical dates. Her blood chilled with the answer. The next convergence begins in less than 3 months. The revelation explained. Everything. Her mother's intensified efforts to eliminate humans came not from hatred alone but fear. Fear that humans would discover the truth and unite the galaxy once more against the common threat. Lyra shared her findings with Admiral Carter, who called an emergency council meeting. Human leaders gathered to hear the princess speak. Many remained suspicious, but the evidence proved compelling, especially when combined with recent Void Walker sightings in previously safe territories. The convergence happens without intervention. Carter asked, what then? Total dimensional collapse, Lyra replied. All matter in this galaxy absorbed by the Void Walkers. No species would survive. Even my mother knows this. She believes elven magic alone can seal the breaches. But the ancient texts are clear. The ritual requires the unique neural patterns of humans combined with elven magic and dragon energy. Why trust you now? A general demanded after centuries of hunting us. Because I have seen the truth, Lyra answered. And truth changes everything. My ancestors chose power over partnership, chose extermination over alliance. That choice may doom us all, unless we rewrite it. As the council deliberated, Lyra sought deeper connection with Azura through meditation techniques practiced over centuries. She accessed dormant genetic memories in her dragon companion. Images flowed between them. Ancient rituals, precise configurations of humans, elves and dragons, forming complex energy patterns. The knowledge had been preserved in dragon DNA beyond the reach of imperial sensors. When Lyra emerged from the meditation trance, Kate waited beside her. The human had refused to leave despite the length of the process. Her presence offered unexpected comfort. Know how to perform the sealing ritual, Lyra announced. The dragons remembered. Kate squeezed her hand gently. Then we have hope. Hope seemed premature. When Lyra presented the ritual requirements to human leadership, skepticism returned. The process would required dozens of humans, elves, and dragons working in perfect harmony. Species that had been killing each other for generations. Even if we agree, Carter said, what about your people? The Empress will never cooperate, as if summoned by the Admiral's words. Alarms blared throughout the base. Sensors detected multiple hyperspace signatures. Elven warships had found the hidden moon. On the command ship, Empress Celestia herself had come. Holographic communications activated, showing her perfect, ageless face. Across the human command center, daughter, she said, her voice cold with disappointment. You have one final chance. Return to your people. Fulfill your royal duty. The Empress knew nothing of Lyra's discoveries, still believed her daughter merely fascinated by an exotic species. Yet the timing of her arrival, the massive fleet accompanying her, suggested deeper concerns. Mother, Lyra replied, choosing words carefully. The convergence approaches the void. Walkers prepare their full invasion. You know this. Why else commit such forces to finding one wayward princess? Celestia's expression flickered, surprise quickly masked. How did you learn of the convergence? Ancient texts, Mother. Both human and elven. I know everything. The original alliance. The betrayal. The bargain. I know why you accelerated plans to eliminate humans. Not from hatred but fear. Fear they would discover the truth and demand equality in the fight against our true enemy. For a moment, true emotion showed on the Empress' face. Something, like regret, perhaps even shame. You cannot understand, child, the burden of 10,000 years. The sacrifices required to preserve our perfect civilization. Perfect, Lyra questioned, built on genocide and lies. What perfection requires such horror to maintain? They are lesser beings. Celestia insisted, their lives are brief, their understanding limited, yet they remembered what we chose to forget. Lyra countered. They preserved knowledge we buried. They survived, despite our betrayal. Their resilience, their adaptability. These are strengths, not weaknesses. The Empress' eyes hardened. Such youthful idealism. The human has corrupted you. The dragons as well. Your mind is poisoned with their primitive emotions. No, Mother. Lyra said, her voice strengthening. My mind is clearer than ever. I see now what our ancestors feared. Why they erased the truth. They feared humans would surpass us. That in their rapid evolution, their capacity for growth, they would become more than we could control. This fear drove us to betray them, to betray ourselves. Around them, human forces prepared defensive positions. The confrontation between mother and daughter merely delayed inevitable conflict. Without unity, the coming convergence would destroy them all. I offer you mercy one final time. Celestia said, return to your rightful place, accept your heritage. The Empire needs its princess, especially now. Lyra looked at Kate, then at the Admiral, at the humans who, despite generations of persecution, still fought for survival, still hoped for better. She thought of Azura, whose genetic memories preserved truth Imperial decree could not erase. The Empire needs truth, Mother. Lyra answered. It needs alliance, not domination. The void. Walkers break our ancient bargain. They come, for us all. When the dimensional barriers thin, only united can we stand against them. Celestia gave no immediate response. Her image flickered, then vanished. Moments. Sirens wailed throughout the moon base as Imperial warships moved into attack formation. Humans rushed to battle stations, preparing for what many believed would be their final stand. Admiral Carter issued evacuation orders for non-essential personnel. Lyra stood in the command center watching tactical displays with growing dread. The Imperial forces outnumbered human defenders 10-1. Even with superior tactics, the outcome seemed inevitable. Unless something changed dramatically, thousands would die today. I need to broadcast to both fleets, the princess announced. Her voice carried unexpected authority, silencing nearby officers. Carter raised an eyebrow. You expect your mother to listen now? Not my mother, Lyra replied. The fleet commanders, many of whom have privately questioned this war. The younger generation of elves who have never understood why we fight. She turned to Kate. I need your help. And Azura's. The human hesitated only briefly before nodding. I trust you. Trust, the word carried weight between them. Across species, across centuries of conflict, something new had formed. Something neither had expected. Communications officers established an open channel broadcasting on all frequencies used by both human and elven forces. Lyra faced the transmission array, Kate beside her, Azura positioned behind them, the dragon barely fitting in the human command center. My name is Lyra Valerian. The princess began, Crown Princess of the Sylvan Empire. I address all who can hear, elven and human alike. I renounce my claim to the imperial throne. Gasps echoed through the command center. The declaration of abdication would shock the empire. None had rejected royal status in 10,000 years of elven history. I do this not to betray my people but to save them, Lyra continued. Our civilization, our perfect society was built on the greatest lie ever told. The humans are not our enemy. They were once our greatest allies. She revealed everything. The ancient alliance against the Void Walkers, the betrayal by the first Empress, the bargain that sacrificed billions of human lives, the coming convergence that threatened all life in the galaxy. For 10 millennia we have hunted a species that should have stood beside us. Lyra said, her voice carrying conviction. We erased our shared history, denied our common purpose. And now the bargain is broken, the Void Walkers come for us all. Only unity offers hope. Behind her, Azura projected images enhancing the broadcast. Dragons and humans working together, fighting side by side, ancient victories against the darkness. The genetic memories flowed through the communication systems, visible to all on elven warships. Younger commanders watched in stunned silence. Many had privately questioned the endless war against humans, never understanding its true purpose. The revelation that imperial leadership had bargained with cosmic horrors, sacrificing other species, struck at the core of elven identity. The Empress ordered this transmission blocked, an officer reported. But several ships are ignoring the command. They listen, Lyra continued, explaining the coming convergence, the dimensional alignment that would allow Void Walkers full entry into their galaxy. She described the ancient sealing, ritual that required the combined energies of multiple species. The hatred between our peoples serves only the Void Walkers, she concluded, strengthening their power while weakening our resistance. I cannot undo 10,000 years of betrayal. But I can stand for truth. I can choose alliance over dominion. I ask you to do the same. As she finished, her Imperial access code, still functional, allowed her to display classified sensor data from elven outposts. The evidence was undeniable. Shadow, vessels approaching from multiple vectors, more numerous than ever before. The convergence had begun. On the Imperial flagship, Empress Celestia watched her daughter's broadcast with cold fury. Order all vessels to attack. She commanded. Destroy the human base and all who shelter there. Several ships moved forward, weapons charging, but others remained stationary. Their commanders questioning orders for the first time in centuries. Admiral Carter observed the division in elven forces. Some still loyal to the Empress, others hesitating, uncertain where duty truly lay. The tactical situation had changed. We can use this, she said softly to Lyra. Strategic withdrawal, while they argue among themselves. Before Lyra could respond, proximity alarms blared. Throughout the base, new signals appeared on tactical displays. Neither human nor elven Void Walkers, Kate whispered. They found us. Shadow vessels surrounded the moon, moving with unnatural speed and precision. Their darkness seemed deeper than space, itself absorbing sensor beams, communications, everything. This close to the convergence, their power had grown exponentially. We need to implement the ritual now, Lyra urged, before they drain all power from our ships. Carter hesitated. How can we trust? This isn't an elaborate trap. In answer, Azura stepped forward, projecting images directly into the Admiral's mind, showing the devastation that awaited all species if the convergence completed. The dragon revealed ancient memories of the First Alliance, how it succeeded despite differences between species. Time grows short, Lyra warned. We need willing participants from both fleets, plus my dragon and others from the Imperial core. The ritual must begin at specific coordinates, where dimensional barriers are already thinning. Against all military doctrine, Carter made her decision. One chance, Princess, prove your words true. Emergency communications reached elven vessels not yet committed to attack. Several commanders recognizing the greater threat responded. Some had witnessed Voidwalker attacks on elven colonies, attacks Imperial leadership denied. The evidence combined with Lyra's broadcast created critical mass. "We stand with the princess." One commander transmitted. "We recognize the true enemy." The Empress watched in growing rage as her perfect authority crumbled. Loyal ships still outnumbered defectors, but the unified front had shattered. Her 10,000-year deception exposed, her bargain with darkness revealed. Set course for the dimensional rift. She ordered those ships still following her commands. "If the lesser species will not accept our protection, then they deserve extinction. We will detonate our cores at the rift, sealing it with elven lives. Our final sacrifice for galactic order." Her plan shocked even loyal officers. The proposed action would destroy dozens of ships, killing thousands of elves. A desperate gamble, believing elven sacrifice alone could seal the breach without the ritual. Lyra received word of her mother's intentions through defecting commanders. The revelation struck her deeply. Despite everything Celestia believed, she acted for the greater good, willing to sacrifice herself and loyal followers to save the galaxy. The misguided nobility of it reflected the tragic flaw in elven thinking. The belief that their species alone should bear cosmic burdens. "We cannot let them do this," Kate said. "They will die for nothing. The rift requires the combined energy pattern to seal properly, without humans in the equation. The sacrifice accomplishes nothing." Lyra nodded, her heart heavy with the knowledge that she must now oppose not just her mother's policies, but her final act. A mixed fleet formed, human vessels alongside defecting elven ships, Azura leading several dragons whose pilots questioned Imperial doctrine, all set course to intercept the Empress before she reached the dimensional rift. The journey took hours, during which Lyra, Kate, and Azura prepared the ritual participants, humans and elves who once sought to destroy each other, now trained together, learning the precise energy patterns required. The dragons, accustomed to being weapons, found new purpose as conduits connecting minds across species. They reached the coordinates just as the Empress fleet arrived. The dimensional rift already visible. A tear in reality through which absolute darkness flowed. Voidwalker vessels emerged in growing numbers, each larger than the last. Celestia transmitted one final message to her daughter. "You disappoint me, child. Your betrayal dooms our perfect civilization. See how your precious humans flee when true darkness approaches." Indeed, several human ships retreated when the full scale of the Voidwalker force became apparent. But others remained, Kate among them, standing firm beside Lyra. "Not betrayal, Mother," Lyra responded. "Evolution. Our civilization was never perfect, merely frozen, unchanging, unyielding. There is another way." Before the Empress could respond, her flagship fired on the rift, a suicidal attack, meant to detonate her core at the exact center of the dimensional tear. Other loyal vessels followed their Empress into glorious sacrifice. Lyra watched, tears streaming down her face as the Imperial flagship vanished into the rift. Celestia giving her life for what she believed right. However misguided her methods, the Empress had sought to protect her people. Always. The realization brought unexpected peace to Lyra. The conflict had never been about good versus evil, but different visions of salvation. The Empress' sacrifice damaged the rift but failed to seal it. More Voidwalkers emerged, the darkness expanding. "We need to complete the ritual." Now, Kate urged. Participants took their positions, forming complex geometric patterns across multiple vessels. Humans, elves, and dragons linked minds, creating the triple harmony needed. Lyra, Kate, and Azura formed the central node connecting all others. Their bond, the strongest, acted as foundation for the entire structure. As Voidwalkers approached, draining energy from nearby ships, the ritual began. Humans contributed their unique neural patterns, resilient, adaptable minds that created unexpected connections. Elves provided magical precision, millennia of focused evolution, channeling energies. With perfect control, dragons added raw power and ancestral memory, the living history of all three species. The combined consciousness expanded beyond individual